everybody else. I talked about this actually at Yolanda's bed a little bit. We are constantly saying yes to everything. Yes, I'll pick it up. Yes, I'll go get your laundry. Yes, I'll cook for you. Yes, I'll do this. And you be like, Lord, why am I saying yes when I want to say no? If we could only learn to say no, it'll change your mindset. No is one of the smallest words in the dictionary, but the most powerful. It is definitive. You can't, if I tell you, you say, can I borrow $1,500? Nope. What is there left to talk about? I mean, really, what is there left to talk about when I say no? Now, if I say, well, maybe, let me think about it, because you don't want to say no. Let me think about it. And then they keep coming back, and you're trying to figure out why they won't leave you alone. I already told them I was going to think about it. No, they came back because you didn't draw that line and leave it there. Because we have a tendency to push the line and keep pushing it because we want to feel good and we want the other person to feel good. But really, we make them stronger by saying no. The power also is saying yes to the right things. When you learn how to say yes to yourself on things that will stretch you, that will pull you outside of your comfort zone, that will make you a better person, when you learn how to say yes to those things, it's just as empowering. And it changes your mindset, because when you learn how to say yes and no and mean it, you are a much stronger person than you sat down to be at the very beginning of that conversation. Because I have conversations inside my head, I'm not gonna lie. And most of them go like this. Well, you said you're gonna do this. You're stretching stuff thin a little bit more. You said you was gonna show up. And the other side of me is saying, you need to go sit down somewhere. You need to take a break. And I'm saying, no, I can take a break later. But then my body says, we tired. Right? We. Because all the people in my head and my body is talking to each other. Right? Because they're in alignment. So the other part of managing your mindset is knowing how to gain balance and take care of you. I always say this, I'm going to say it again. If you do not learn how to put your oxygen mask on first, you're going to pass out and be no good to anybody. Because when you get on the airplane and you buckle in, and the first thing they say as they get ready to taxi out onto that runway, they say, in case of loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the ceiling. Put yours on first, and then assist the person sitting next to you. If you sit up there and try to fumble around and put it on your baby and on your husband and the guy sitting behind you, they all might make it off the plane. And you're going to be the one that's going to need the stretcher. So if you don't know how to take care of you first, love on you first, say no when it's appropriate, say yes to what you need, you're going to be in a world of chaos. Constantly. Trying to figure out how to get off that merry-go-round. And when it's going to stop, nobody's going to know. And when it does, you probably going to get carried off. Because you hurt me. And your mindset is telling you that's the right thing to do, but I'm not going to do it because too many people depend on me. Baby, let me tell you this. If you die today, somebody else is going to pick up the pieces.
Amen.
Because life does not stop because you aren't there. As my pastor said, the Reverend Dr. Howard John Weston of Alpha Street Baptist Church. Yep, I'm going to say it. As he always says, he says, if you think that we can't do anything without you, go ahead and die. He said, we will go ahead and have a service here, fry some chicken, and then go on over there and put you in the ground and have Sunday church. So you go ahead and die and see. But we don't want to get to that point. We need to get to the point where we say, it's okay for me to know that I need to take care of me. It's okay for me to get my mind right before I start messing with everybody else's problem. Everybody's not built to deal with your issues. Everybody's not. And trust me when I say you shouldn't be telling your issues to everybody.
That's right.
Because a lot of people are not meant for your good. They gonna take it in the street, girl, she crazy as a best girl. True. When really they don't know what's going on with you. You see this much of the ice cream in somebody's mindset. You see just a snippet of what's going on inside of their head, but you don't see all of that undertow. You don't realize what's really weighing them down. And that's what happens when you get on this little circlet here. Your mindset, and if you notice, I put on here, each one of these arrows is going out because anything that happens, your performance, your attitude, your behaviors, your actions, your outcomes, all stem from your mindset. And for some people, they're like, oh, well, my attitude's been like this for a long time. And you saying that out loud? Especially if it's a nasty one. This is how you know when your attitude is bad. When you have to go home and think about what you just said. Anytime you get in the car and start driving and say, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I shouldn't behave like that. Maybe I shouldn't have did that. Maybe I should go apologize. If you get to the point where you're telling yourself that you need to apologize, then you know you need some work. And you need to work on yourself before you go back and tell that other, like Joy said, you want to go tell somebody else off? Don't tell them off. Talk to yourself first. Find that quiet space. Own your piece of it before you start telling everybody else what they need to do. Because the more power you get, the power you get is actually working on you. Because you show up differently. You sound differently. You walk differently. If you ever notice anybody who used to act a little crazy, I don't like that word, but they look a little off, just a little special. But then you find out later, you start seeing them, they show up differently. You'll find out later, oh, I got me a good coach. Or I started seeing a counselor. Or I actually went to counseling with my church. Because we all have baggage. We all have baggage. Some people drag it around every single place they go. Some people got bags in your chair and underneath your seat, and you just took up somebody else's seat because you got so much baggage. But you got to learn how to love yourself enough to unpack. Pull all of that negativity out of yourself, and then show up for everybody else. The difference between, because when I was putting this together, I was thinking behaviors and attitudes. Behaviors are the things that you show up on a repetition. That's how a person acts. If you see somebody who smiles all the time, you know you're going to get a smile out of them regardless of where you see them at. That's one of their known behaviors. But an action is actually when they show up, they might not think about it. And they might show up differently for that one time or, just on occasion. Because I tell people all the time, if you talk to me, sometimes, most of the time I'm able to just slide all of the stuff, the negative stuff away from me. But sometimes that other sister that live in here gets invited out. Okay? And she only comes out by invitation. And so if you give her an invitation, that's because y'all done RSVP her to some event, right? You done brought her out for some reason. And I try to keep her in check because we all have a break point. Yeah. We all have a break point. You're going to have some this holiday season. You're going to have some folks who come over for dinner. You're going to have your invitation. You're going to have some times when you're out shopping and hopefully nobody spends too much money. But you're going to get an invitation because for some of those folks who are on Black Friday, I don't know how y'all do it. I do Cyber Monday. But Black Friday, I don't know how people do it in the store with all of the crowds and everything and people pushing you and hitting you trying to get all that stuff. I'm like, go on Amazon.com, they deliver right at your house. But you'll get an invitation. When you get the invitation, it's what you do with it that matters. Because if you stop and say, how am I going to show up in this situation and am I going to be able to deal with it, it's going to be important. Because if you get in a car, you're going to have to say, I might need to call that person, then the invitation went wrong. It went south when you could have just said, I am who I am, and I don't